Welcome at this video tutorial on AIFMD reporting. My name is Olaf van Halm. I'm one of the founders of Matterhorn Reporting Services, and today I will demonstrate the AIFMD reporting process. Should take about 15 minutes, but before we start to do the actual demo, I want to give you a brief introduction about our company. So our company is called Matterhorn Reporting Services, and we founded the company in 2014. We focus on two products, AIFMD reporting and MiFID II transaction reporting. And we've become a specialist in those two areas. We work closely with the regulators to make sure that you're always compliant when you're using our solution. Matterhorn is a market leader in the Netherlands, and we're growing significantly in 10 other jurisdictions. We offer two services. Most of our clients use our self-service software, so they report themselves using our system. We also have clients for which we report on behalf. Annually, we do about 300 managers for which we report, and they combine create 8,000 reports. So that was our short introduction. Now I wanted to demonstrate the process. First I want to give you an overview. So our process consists of a couple of steps. First thing is you have to enter the data that you want to report into an Excel-based template. This template will guide you through the process. It has all the information you need to fill in the reports. For large clients, we also offer CSV files so that they can import directly from the database. Next, you go to our application and import the template, and at that moment we inspect and we validate the report. And then the next step is that you actually inspect the report, so you can look at a readable version, and finally you can export XML or PDF reports, and those reports can be submitted to the regulator, and that's the next step. This is different for each regulator. Most regulators offer a website in which you can import those XML reports directly, and then you're basically done with your reporting cycle. Now we go a little bit more into depth on the template. If you don't have an example template from us, you can download examples under the matterhornapps.com, and you go to the help menu, and there you can find more information about which template to use. The template always consists or has some examples in the template so that you can see how you should be populating it. Now I will actually show you the template. So this is an overview of a standard template as you will get when you download it. The template is broken up into elements, starting with questions about the manager, then about the funds, and then about the actual investments. And I will now walk through this template. What's important is that we always give in the first column more information about whether this information is required or whether it's conditional, and so on. So you click on the field, and you can see in this case there's one manager allowed, so you can only report one manager in a template. And if we look here, you can create for each fund, you can create records here. So in this case we have an example of a Dutch real estate fund manager. So it's reporting into the Netherlands. It's reporting for 2022. This is the identifier received from the regulator, and this is the legal name. And you will see that's all we ask for the manager, because we will be able to calculate the numbers that need to be reported for the manager based on the underlying funds. The manager in this example is managing two funds, one residential real estate fund and a commercial real estate fund. And for those we've populated this template. What's important here is that if you start populating a record or set up a fund, you have to give it a custom name, and that's done in this column. So in this case you see there's Fund 1 and Fund 2, and you see it repeated here. And that's basically linking the information together. The other thing that's important is if you click on a field, we will give you instructions on how to use it. So in this case, this field is mandatory, and it should be the unique ID that's provided by your regulator. There are also fields that are not mandatory. So for example, this one, you only use it in case you are going to report for the last time on this particular fund. So we recommend that you, the first time you go through these fields to see whether they are applicable. But the example we provide is actually a very representative example for most clients. One thing I forgot to mention is that it's important that this template is specifically for registered or light fund managers. If you are not a light manager or a registered manager and you are authorized, then you should use the different template, and we will show you in this video a link to this other manual. If we continue, so for each fund we list the assets and liabilities here. In this case, the first fund has 3 apartments and some cash. For each of the assets you have to find the right sub-asset type. In this case it says physical, residential, real estate. Finding the right asset type, you click on this box and you can choose from these different codes, which are further explained in the Annex II, and that's also included in this template. So we click here, you can find all the different asset classes that are available within AIFMD, and you have to find the most appropriate. If you have any questions or if you're unable to locate it, just contact us and we will be able to assist you. The example here, you have to fill in, this is a fund that has no leverage. So here you have the values of the different items. So there's 2 million cash currently, and you have to tell in which region you're investing. So in this case it's Europe. If we go here, you can see the other options that are there. It's quite limited what you have to fill in. If we have a fund that does have leverage, then you also have to start adding loans, for example. So in this case there's a loan and there's a short position then in that case. So in the example you are able to download, we provide this particular example, so you should be able to reuse that for your situation if you have leverage. Then this basically concludes for, I would say, 95 to 98% of all light or registered funds. This is an example as you should be able to fill it in. One thing is there are also less frequently used records. There is the assumptions, which give you the option to report a particular assumption about a question in the regulation to the regulator. So for example, if you have an assumption about question 12, you fill in 12, you select that you have to report an assumption, and then you tell basically what your assumption is to the regulator. Another thing that is slightly more used is if you have 2 share classes within a fund, 2 or more, then you have to report those as well. So in this case, Fund 1 has 2 share classes, non-voting and voting, and then it should be listed here. If we would have the similar situation for Fund 2, we would then basically copy this across and say, okay, it's Fund 2, which you should be able to select from the drop down and copy that across. So now we're also having introduced a share class for Fund 2. So that's quite simple. If you have a third fund or more funds, you just copy them across, give it a unique name, and start modifying what is actually different. So usually, of course, the name and the codes. I'll call it Fund 2. And now I've basically introduced a new fund. If I, for the example, I'll assume it has exactly the same positions as Fund 2, and I'll call it here Fund 3. And copy that across. If I would need more lines, you just simply include them here, and you can just create more room to add more funds there. So this basically is how you use the template. It's quite simple, but this concludes this section. If you feel you've filled everything in, then the next step is that you can go to our website, Matterhorn Apps, and you log on to the website, and I'll do that for you. You go there, you log on, and you've now entered the application. And the first thing you have to do is import this template that you just created, and I'll do that with this one. And if it passes all inspection, thumbs up will be shown. And there's at this moment, when you see this thumbs up, we've applied all the AIFMD rules, which are more than 1,000 rules that we apply, and we have determined that the data is actually correct to be reported. Data is by default not shown if it's correct. You can click here to actually show the data. If there's something wrong, and I will import that as well, then it will highlight here. So in this case, you start to see that there's red on the reports. The line that is causing the problem is lit up. So in this case, it says on row 18 of your template there's something wrong. And if we go across here, we actually are able to see what is wrong. So in this case, there are two errors. One is a field that we are not allowed to populate for a real estate fund. So this is only for private equity. The other one is where we exceed a value. That should of course not be happening either. So the way you fix this is by going back to your template, fix it in the template, make sure you save it, and then clear the memory and import the sheet again, which we will do now. And we've now are back to the correct version. So now data is fine, and we go to the actual reports. In this case, there are 3 funds which we have created, and you can now visibly inspect these reports by going through here through the report. What you will see is that there are quite a number of figures in here. Those are all derived from the positions you listed in the template. So in this case, the fund is managing 4.6 million assets under management. There are other look-throughs that are requested, so like the biggest assets, the spread across geographical regions, exposures, and it goes on and on. So basically this is what's reported for one particular fund. If you want to step through the other funds, you can go here and you can see the different funds that we've created. What you can also see here is a manager report, and in this case the figures here are the total of the underlying funds that we just filled in. If this all looks fine, then you are ready to report, and you go to the last tab here, and you're ready to create the XML report. In this case, push the button here, and you've now created the manager report. Push the fund button, and you've created also all the funds in one zip file. if we open up the zip file, then we can see that it has now created a zip file with 3 XML files, and if we open those, then it will show you the underlying XML data. So this is in a nutshell how the process is done. If you also want to maintain, or archive a PDF version of the report, or you want to send it to a client for them to inspect it one more time, then it's also a simple push of a button, and the system will then generate the actual PDF format. So this basically concludes the reporting process. What we also want to show you is that there also is a help section, which can be found here, and there it has information on things like which template you should be using. So there's some criteria. In this case we're demonstrating the light template, but there's also a more elaborate full template. We also have a tutorial. These are our video tutorials, and we have a frequent asked questions area, and we have all the documents on the AIFMD regulation. And finally, if you have questions, don't hesitate, just contact us. You can find us here. So we continue here. Yeah, so frequent asked questions. We list quite a number of often asked questions in this section, and we keep expanding this based on the questions we receive, so that you're able to benefit from the knowledge we have on the collective number of clients we're serving. Yeah, you can always contact us here, by phone here. Yeah, this basically concludes our presentation. I'd like to thank you for joining this tutorial. I hope it's clear. If it's not clear, just contact us, call us, and we will then demonstrate or assist you with setting up the process. Also important is that when you're going to report for the first time, we can set up a free video call to assist you and to make sure that what you filled in actually matches with what you want to report. And yeah, we do this a lot, so we can do this very efficiently. So thank you very much, and yeah, success with the reporting.